And we are live! And welcome to the Crafty Boys, where a bunch of dudes sit around, drink beer, and talk about crap, and then we think we're important, and then the chicks show up out of nowhere and fall out of the sky.
That doesn't happen.
No.
Never, ever.
It's not like guys fall out of the sky, you know! Thunk!
Yeah.
So, how's it going, boys?
Not bad. It's Friday.
Are you doing well? Are you doing amazing?
I'm doing pretty amazing.
All right, kick ass.
Amazing.
Amazing as you could ever be. Yeah, that's pretty fucking amazing, I gotta say.
Actually, yeah. I mean, luck on a bad day is pretty amazing.
This is true. This is very true. Locke, tell us, what beer are you drinking today?
Okay, this evening I am drinking something that I saw it and
I'm intrigued.
I think maybe the first thing that crossed my mind was, why would anybody do that? And then it occurred to me, because they have a comedy beer podcast. That's why they would do that. I am drinking what is called a pig.
Okay.
Look at this thing. It's a pig.
It is a West Coast.
Yeah, it's a West Coast style IPA, which is to say that it's not from the West Coast. It's from Ontario. Brewed and packaged by Bellwoods Breweries from Toronto, Ontario. Established in 2012. It contains barley and oats. The presence of oats is making me a little concerned that this isn't what it pretends to be, which is a West Coast style IPA. Makes me think that maybe it's a little bit hazy.
Where is this one from?
We'll see. Bellwoods Brewery from Toronto. I think maybe we've done a Bellwoods on the show before, but I don't remember.
I've heard of them before.
But yeah, I mean, they, as I say, 2012. So
I think I got that name right.
Relatively early to the scene as these things go in Ontario. Not a lot of other information on here. It is 7%. But then again, it's also called a pig.
Why is it called pig?
Let's see what it's like.
Is there any kind of reasoning why it's called pig?
No. I mean, I looked for clues to see if there was, like, in celebration of our, brewmasters' pig heritage. I mean, I don't. I'm like, what? I don't know. We did have that discussion about the problem with genetics and science, being that although we can do some pretty incredible things with the science of genetics, because of the nature of science, because of the nature of proof, we are unable to offer more than, based on the amount of genetic code that we share with both chimpanzees and pigs, we have no way to rule out the possibility, let's say, based on the science of genetics. There are other reasons why we might choose to rule it out, but based just on the science of genetics, there's no way we could strictly rule out the possibility that somewhere in our human background, a chimpanzee came along and fucked a pig. So anyway, here goes.
That's how the outbreak happened.
Oh, that's weird.
Ooh.
I don't know what I think of this.
It's
look at it. For a start, the color's not bad, so it's not a hazy. It is bright yellow.
Why, thank you, Mr. Fulton. If you'd like to put your sample into the proper box.
I know. I was going to say.
I mean, yeah. Does this reflect the vitamin B content? I really don't know.
I was thinking the same thing. I was going to say.
Let me see if I can tease out what I think
I couldn't
this
leave it alone.
Tastes like. Does this taste like a West Coast IPA?
Something tells me it should have a decent hop profile, but you're not wowing. It doesn't feel like you're getting wowed.
No, this is not the path of West Coasterly hop dominance that is green and piney and
It's
Yeah,
like an
this is-
East Coast
Well, okay,
take
but it's
on a
not
West Coast
fruit juice.
IPA.
It's not fruit juice either. What's odd about it is that it's sort of going back a bit like a Kolsch,
Really?
Okay.
which is out of nowhere and kind of random and completely not within my expectations. But that's sort of what it's reminding me of. Is it's a
So
it's
basically,
got that sort of
you are not amused.
sort of mid sort of range. It's not going all the way to malty, and there's certainly nothing sweet about it. But it's not acerbic the way a West Coast IPA would typically be. This is, yeah, like I say, it's sort of more like a Kolsch. It's got,
Weird.
well, which,
And Kolsch's are great.
yeah, to be fair, I like Kolsch's. If I don't think I've ever encountered a 7% one. So this is, I guess, what you would end up with if you were trying to make a 7% Kolsch. Yeah, I mean, interesting result. Not what I was thinking it would be, but not bad either. So,
All right. So underwhelming beer for the first hit. Alan, you and I have the same beer, of course.
We do.
And tonight it is Vancouver Island Brewing's Ice Bock, or as we grew up. It's been around for a while. We just call it the Herminator, which is a beer I remember back when it was introduced. It was a big deal because it was only a seasonal thing. You couldn't get it.
It still
Except
is
for
only a
being-
seasonal thing.
Oh, I know, but it was an event back then.
Oh,
And
totally.
this was early in the days where seasonal beers were still not part of the mainstream in terms of what
exactly.
This was,
breweries were doing.
as I say,
Yeah.
the original seasonal beer.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
First
Here it
introduced
is.
in
At least for the region,
1987.
yeah.
Oh, it still smells good. I'm hoping that it's not bad at all. Let's see. Still as good as it had ever been. I
Now,
gotta say though,
Going back into a little bit of history on this beer,
Mhm.
the original line of beers that Vancouver Island Brewing had, they had a dark lager called Herman's,
Mhm.
which they don't make anymore. This Herminator is sort of like the Herman's lager on steroids. They turned it into an ice bock, and it was a special thing just for Christmas. They used to put it out in bomber bottles. The bomber bottles would be in a box, I seem to remember.
yeah.
And there was a limited supply, and you had to go around, and it was quite expensive for what a bomber was at the time. I was buying them in the early 90s. I want to say they were about $5 to $6 a piece, which sounds like a bargain today.
I'll say $5 or $6. Wow,
Yeah.
that used to be, wow.
But yeah, so I have a whole bunch. These things age really nicely if you can hold on to them for a year or more. I have like about 10 of last year's ones still.
Oh wow.
Now,
So-
are they bottle conditioned? Or does it mellow, or does it continue to?
I think it kind of like it gets a deeper flavor. The flavor in this, let me just try it. Will have a sharpness to it.
Yeah. Okay.
If you age it a little bit, the flavors actually last on the palate a little bit longer.
Right.
This is kind of like it comes and then it goes. Whereas with you age it, it'll stay with you a little bit longer. It's just a more satisfying drink. This one isn't bad. I'm just saying that if you hold on to it for a year, it'll be a little bit more satisfying.
Nice. Well, I gotta say I am enjoying it. It always has a nice head on it. It always has a nice sort of deep flavor to it.
The body.
I
is
have no
good.
problem. It's a good beer, and I'm glad we're doing it because I was wondering what we were going to do for the Christmas thing, because last year we had quite the I don't know, it was kind of a bad experience for all kinds of reasons, but ultimately one of those bad reasons was that there was really nobody making it was kind of like the beer companies were like, we're not doing that this year. Sorry, we're not making an advent calendar. And which my liver was like, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But Alan and I actually did. I don't know. Did we finish them all? I can't remember.
Yes, we did.
We did. Okay, so we did like the 12 Days of Christmas, which basically starts on Boxing
it's not
Day
12 days
until...
of Christmas exactly. It's just the Phillips Space Case, which has 12 unique
True.
beers, and you can have them whenever. I mean,
Exactly. But we chose to do it then because it was the season, but also the beer. I thought there was not going to be one this year. I had this idea that last year was kind of the last hurrah for a lot of these. But out of nowhere, yesterday I saw that it's Phillips Brewing said, "Hey, yeah, we're doing it again. Here you go, 12 unique beers, blah blah blah." And I'm like, "What the hell?" So I'm kind of excited to try it out.
yeah, I'll try it out if you're willing to try it out.
I'm willing to try it out because why not? I mean, we had I'm trying to remember. It was was there anything memorable? Which I don't think there was.
See,
was there
that's it. 2 years ago, we did the Space Case from Phillips, and it was quite memorable. There's almost every single beer in there was what I would consider to be a winner. There wasn't necessarily any Christmas themed beers exactly, but everything in there was really high quality. Last year's I thought was kind of underwhelming.
I'm wondering if there are any. I've not actually. Here's the thing. I have not been looking. I'm curious if Parallel 49 has made any rumblings.
No.
All
the usual suspects who used to make advent calendars aren't. At least I haven't announced anything yet, and you would think if they're making an advent calendar, they would have by now.
Yeah, you'd think they would have said something, but yeah, I think you're right. I'm just looking at their Twitter and their Instagram, and
frankly, I think the novelty kind of wore off.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think basically it has been, to be honest, I don't think they sold. They started, their sales were falling off because I don't think, I mean, what I've been hearing in the news of late is, aside from everything else that's horrible, is that younger adults, get off my lawn, are not actually drinking beer. They've moved to, there's like a trend right now of wines and spirits, and they're not really beers.
And non-alcoholic beers.
Non-alcoholic beers as well. So there is that. I mean, basically you've got a bunch of things sort of colliding that maybe, we don't see numbers, of course, but, I guess these companies are like, we're not selling all of them, so we better not. Maybe they're just.
We talked about this last week a little bit. I think the craft beer industry is on a bit of a downswing. I think everything's cyclical. We're kind of going down to the bottom, and eventually it's going to rebound. It's going to go back up, and things will change.
But I mean, there's definitely going to be some industry going on producing stuff, and it just saddens me that there's that we've lost. Like we here were spoiled. We had 2 companies that were basically making advent calendars on the regular for 5 years, 5 seasons or so.
I think longer than that.
And then it was last year where a bunch didn't actually do one. Then we had the year before where I think one of them didn't do it. So we still had, I think this was it. I can't remember who stopped making it. Was it the
remember
Snowpack? Who made the
Snowpack?
So
Parallel 49 and Central City used to do one together. They did it every year, a combination thing where Parallel 49 did 12 and Central City did 12. And then they split for whatever reason. So they're both trying to make 24, and I think it was just too much for both companies. And so they did. I think Central City did it for 1 year, and then didn't again after that. And I think Parallel 49 kept it up for about 2 or 3 years and gave it up. Now, if you're looking for a advent calendar, though, Cascadia liquor stores in Victoria does make their own and has been doing it for a few years now. So they sell that, and it's a mixture of beers from different breweries. So you're not going to find everything from Parallel 49 or everything from Phillips. It's going to be from lots of little microbreweries from all over the region. It's pretty pricey though for 24 beers. I think they're just regular cans. I want to say it's like $120, which is kind of expensive.
Yeah, I mean, I would just prefer to do my own at that stage. But again, you know, I mean, there's definitely going to be, they would have access to a lot of beer that potentially we're not having access to at the time anyway. Like maybe they, you know, they got a shipment of something they thought appropriate for an advent that maybe only showed up to 2 stores or something. But yeah, I mean, there's, and I think you and I have actually thought about doing our own, but part of it though is the mystery. I mean, that's the thing, is that it became like a feature where we would want to know where Mr. Needles was going to wind up. You know, what day would Needles be on? Is it going to be day 1, day 15, day 20? Like there was a bit of the adventure in it. It wasn't just about the beer.
Yeah.
I mean, we had the benefit of that. We had a podcast already, so we actually could go, oh, hey, let's do a Christmas thing. But the reality is, you know, if I were to do it by myself, I probably wouldn't. So there was kind of this, you know, ritual sort of that I kind of really got into, and really enjoyed the fact that we would be surprised because there would be a couple of repeats. You know, Mr. Needles was always there every year, which was fine. It's the most disgusting brew in terms of holiday beer, but it was a thing. It's like, no, I totally gonna have this anyway, and just stomach my way through it. But then you have, you know, big surprises here and there. Like a couple times we had Old Fashioned, which I always remember. I think that one was repeated. Maybe
no, it was never repeated.
No, was it just that one year?
It was just one time.
Oh, really? Okay.
And that was
so it just saddens me. It just saddens me that they're. I mean, yes, I know it's hard to put these together because they are companies. They're making their regular stock, and then they have to turn around and go, okay, how the hell are we going to make 24 things before the end of the year? Like before we need to have it in cans.
And to be honest, and the frequent commenter on the show, Julian, has said this in the past. The stuff that you find in the advent calendars is the stuff that they made throughout the year that failed.
That
is true. There's definitely going to be a lot of that. Because,
but it's also the proof of an active, you know, an active brewmaster who's making experiments and blind guesses and daring deeds. You know, like.
Well, yeah, because here's the thing. Part of it as well, for me, in my mind, is that there's this community building that they could actually base around these products, where they have 24 things they've canned, given them names, put them into a case, and said, hey, we're going to make this as a special holiday thing. But here's the thing is, every year we've had those particular breweries never really made a big stink about them, except maybe in social media, which is a total sales tool. Makes sense. Totally love it. Thanks for doing it. But there's this whole community part that they could have really embraced, where you had crazy people like us online talking about their beer a little bit, but then you also had the ability to have, you know, end of the year events, you know, that they could have really jumped on and said, hey, this is we start selling this on November 20th and it's gone when it's gone. And if you get to have a chance of actually enjoying them, then why don't they base something around it, either online or, I mean, granted we had COVID and stuff for a while, but you know, they could have done something online. They could have done something beforehand in person. And I just think that it's because it's such a weird thing. Advent calendars of all kinds. I was looking at advent calendars today. I found a bunch of Disney ones. I found a bunch of chocolate company ones. I found a bunch of some out there for beer companies doing it. But they're all very far away, and as much as I like Lego, I don't want 24 minifigs running around under my feet at this age. Thank you very much. But there is a Star Wars Advent calendar, Lego calendar, which I'm this close. I'm tempted.
Okay,
But
we need to have a discussion about Lego, but go on.
yeah. Well, I mean, my whole rant here is just basically about. It's a great idea. I hope companies return to doing it, especially locally because we're spoiled. But really, there's a lot more you could do with those because, yeah, they make a ton of beer. They sell a lot of beer, but really, none of that really amounts to much. It doesn't, it's a thing. They sponsor events or whatever, but they don't actually have something where they could actually have an event or sit down, or I don't know what it might be or what it would look like, but like we do here, a couple of nobodies who sit around, drink beer, talk shit, and then we do it again the following week. But that is kind of an extension in my mind of like pub culture and stuff like that, especially when you live in different places. And you could totally do that or something like that for this 24 unique, crazy, whether it's a failure or not kind of thing. And,
Plus Thor's hammer.
Oh, yeah, Thor's hammer.
Yeah,
but
that was
for
me for getting an advent calendar, especially if if there was Central City involved. It always had Thor's hammer in it, which is an amazing beer. I actually have a 2015 Thor's hammer that I need to open because it's 2023 now. It ain't going to get any better. So, the time has come to open it, but I don't have one to replace it. And I'm hoping that Central City puts out more Thor's hammer at some point.
According to their website, they do have it on their list. It doesn't look like they've made it for a couple of years though. The last one was 2018. No, that can't be right. However,
I believe it. I haven't seen it in a while.
Well, if you check on Untapped, there is actually apparently people reporting in the last couple of weeks that they're having a Thor's hammer.
Well, I could have a Thor's hammer, maybe. But I've had mine since 2015.
Well, this is true. I don't think I have any left. I think I drank all mine. I know I've got a couple of things in boxes over there that I've not looked at for a while, so maybe there's one there.
I'm all for aging beers, but I mean, a barley wine is only going to age so much before it starts going. So it's time.
But I don't know. I just feel that there's a community thing that is kind of missed around, the end of the year. Locke, Lego. What did you want to talk about Lego?
Right. So has anybody besides me noticed the recent push towards developing Lego for an adult audience? So
yes.
So they have now kits where you can make a floral table piece, right? Or famous world architecture, or classic cars, or
the Millennium Falcon, like a huge, highly detailed one.
Yeah, but that's that you expect. They've had Star Wars Lego's been around for a while. You're right. It is more sophisticated, but I mean, in terms of, so one that I find curious because it's in terms of a Lego shape, it's basically a box. So not really very sophisticated in terms of, but they have a Lego Atari game system from the 80s.
Yes.
What?
Why you would want one?
What?
I sort of, I mean, okay, yeah. I mean, yeah. Just stick it on your shelf. And is it cool? Yes, it's cool. It's a little.
It doesn't play.
It doesn't play, and so it's you sort of wonder what the fuck it's for. But that's just it. That's what I'm saying is that Lego has branched out into purely decorative arts, including some badass retro references. Like,
I had no idea.
They have a half Pac-Man arcade machine.
What? What the hell? What is this?
It doesn't play, but there is like a pulley system on it where you can actually make the Pac-Man move around a little bit.
Oh. That's pretty cool.
That is just, oh my Lord. Wow. Okay, that is kind of cool. Well, I mean, I haven't looked at Lego in terms of where they're going of late, but I have to say that is actually surprising, but very cool, because the collectible market is huge. People think they can make money at it. Very few do. But the thing is, but there's also the other component of it, which is the love of something, right? So you have, I don't know, I've got a couple of figures from Firefly. I love Firefly. I got a couple of figures, and I think I left them in the package for, I don't know, a couple of years, and then I just thought, what am I leaving these in the package for? I kind of want to like touch them, and it's artwork. So I ripped them open and display them on the shelf. But I'm not really a collector in that way of...
You're not speculating on
I'm not speculating, but it's more than that. It's really the fact that I'm not really interested in collecting, because if I were to do it for the sake of an investment, which it's a very, decent investment. I mean, look at cryptocurrency. I'm betting on my Shiba, but the reality is that these things are important and people love them, but I'm a completionist if it comes to collecting things. If I actually let my brain go and say, I'm going to collect these things, I would have to have them all. I could not just have one or two. I couldn't have 10. I would want more. And I just knew that about myself a long time ago. And then I decided at some point, what the hell am I going to do with this stuff? Am I going to be attentive enough to be able to actually turn them into, basically you're turning the collection and selling and whatnot into a business? Because a friend of mine, his wife collects shoes. In their bedroom, she has 400 pairs of shoes, and they're all in this big, huge rack all the way up the wall.
Is her name Imelda?
Yeah, really. And I thought it was a bit I saw them once, and I thought, Jesus Christ, that's kind of a waste. What the fuck you got these shoes for? No. So I asked her, I said, what is with all the shoes? To me, that's just crazy. And she says, no, that's my stock. And I said, oh. She says, yeah, I wear a bunch of them. I don't keep them all. And she showed me her online store. She was actively buying and selling shoes. And she wasn't making a lot of money, but she was making enough just to make it interesting. So that to me is the level where you really have to, that is where I would have to be.
And were these because women's shoes they're prostitution and single malt whiskey. There's no upper limit to what you can charge for shoes.
Exactly. And she was making some decent sales. She was losing money on some shoes. Some of the shoes she bought so she could wear them for a little while, and then after she wore them for a bit, she sold them on. But the thing is that would be the level that I would have to be at in order to actually feel as though collecting was worth it. And the problem is, I am not that person. I feel like I would collect and hold on and collect and hold on, and then I would be drowning in.
And then somebody would come in and do a hoarder intervention.
Exactly. Yeah. But Alan, for example, are you still collecting it all, or you sort of stopped at some point? Or
I stopped. but I haven't gotten rid of any of it.
Well, that's the thing, though, is you don't have to. The fact that you have them and you kept them in their boxes, you did what collectors should do. Even if another 10 years goes by, you know, so what?
Just
You
so
have
the
a
audience
box
knows, not that anybody's.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, he's
and
collecting
these
bodies of dead babies.
These are Star Wars action figures that were re-released beginning in 1995, I believe it was, prior to the release of the special editions of Star Wars. And I collected them until a little bit after episode 1. And then I started having kids, and the collecting kind of became went into the back seat, and I stopped at that point. But I still have everything.
Well, I mean, I know somebody in the podcasting community who lives in the States, and he collects radios, like shortwave radios, high band radio, like all kinds of different radios from all kinds of different times. And but at the same time, he's also an active listener to radio. Like he goes, one of the things, according to his podcast, is he goes out on the back porch when he's doing like yard work, and he has this special short band radio that he's got earbuds in his ears when he's doing gardening and stuff like that during the summer and whatnot. And he's listening to radio programs from Europe, from Russia, from Japan. Like he finds programs, he likes them, and he just listens to them when they're broadcasting live. He doesn't do the online streaming thing, and that's kind of his deal. And so that actually sort of built up this collection of all of these different things that are important to him. And I like Alan, the figurines are important to you and stuff like that. So I don't think there's really a bad way to collect stuff. I mean, there's what's his face, Jay Leno collects cars. So
if I had the money, that's what I'd do.
Well, exactly. If money was no object, then I might, I don't know, cargo planes or jet fighters or something.
If I had the money and the space, I'd be collecting original arcade machines.
There are individuals in the United States who privately collect vintage warplanes, let's call them, who have basically greater military capability in an Air Force sense than Canada's Air Force.
Yeah,
which is just
that would not surprise me.
Actually, not to get off topic, but I saw somebody on Facebook Marketplace in the interior selling like an F-14.
Really?
Yeah, just like a couple months ago.
Okay, that's insane.
Yeah,
but they are. I mean, it's like any military hardware, right? The military hardware is deactivated. Like if you wanted to buy a vintage, I don't know, weapon from the U.S. military, the Canadian military, they wouldn't sell something you could use. They would sell it
this
for
way.
collectors.
Somebody who knows how to buy those things probably also knows how to rehabilitate those things.
Oh, easy.
Yeah. Now. I just like to backtrack for a minute because we sort of went off in another direction here. But there's a point I sort of wanted to make about the Lego stuff, and particularly that adult Lego that we were looking at. And Shane, you jumped straight to collecting stuff, which like if you were going to get the Pac-Man, Lego thing. Well, so here's something odd about that. First of all, if you're going to buy it, you wouldn't leave it in the box. Yeah, you would have to make it. Like you know what I mean? Like I
had a bunch of Lego sets.
Type of collectible, but the odd thing about it is for Lego, if you bought the Pac-Man one, what would you build with it besides Pac-Man?
Nothing.
Right, which is sort of the one sort of thing that leaves me kind of
I know
where they've gone here. Now that said, if you got the floral table piece kit, you could build their floral table piece, or actually no,
fake cacti.
Yeah, those are that's not the ones that I'm thinking of. Like they have.
Well, I looked this up, and it's called the Icon collection or Icons,
Oh,
and
perhaps.
that's
Yeah,
just the
yeah.
first ones there. But there are that Dune, classic cars, the Titanic. That
Yes,
I would
yeah.
get. That I would
Yeah.
get because
For
I love
$850
that.
bucks. Holy shit!
I would get. Would I buy it? Probably not.
Yeah.
But here you go.
Yeah.
So we've got like plants. We
Yeah.
got Mr. Miyagi's
Yeah,
tree.
yeah, yeah. And you see
Floral
when you do these
arrangements.
plant ones, the thing that strikes me about those is you could build their plants, or you could screw around and get creative with that. That's something where you could play around and do
Well,
something other
you
than
totally
what
could.
was
You
shown
could
on the
easily
box.
kit bash those things because, as any model maker I've ever talked to and have seen online and stuff, they always talk about the models they make and stuff. But then when you get into the nitty gritty of how do you actually make the thing you created, like to me,
Mm.
there's no set for this. There's no you just thought it up and you built it, and they always talk about how they kit bash, where they go out, they buy cheap model kits, and they use the parts that are available within these model kits to add and accentuate accentuate, whatever the word is.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
Excuse me. But
augment.
basically, they augment. That's the word I was thinking of. They augment all the different things that they want to build. Like I've watched Adam Savage on his YouTube channel since he started it, and every so often he'll do a build where he's like, "Okay, this is my daily build. I'm going to build something today, and it's going to be this theme. So it's like a spaceship or a prop or whatever it might be." And he will always start out with probably some sort of material, and he would build out the thing he's making, and then he would go to the kits and he would bring out these kits and all these little plastic pieces, and he would go, all right, I want 10 of these. He would go through all the kits to find 10 of these things. And that to me is a kind of is something that could happen with these Lego ones, where there's definitely going to be unique pieces because of what they are. But if you went out and bought 10 of the kits, you could have 10 of these unique pieces to build something else. And I think that's actually kind of cool because you're right. They're basically plastic art. And somebody sat around one day and said, hey, we could build these kits that adults would probably go and use and build. Because the thing is, adults would probably build the thing, I think, for the most part. And then that would be it. They'd put it on the shelf, they would display it, light it up, whatever it is. There would be a smaller population of adults that would probably say, you know what, I got to get 10 of those things because I had this great idea to build this other thing, because it's a unique part that makes that possible.
But
Which is the one other question I have for you is, have either of you watched any of Lego Masters?
No.
I don't even know what that is. What is it?
Okay, it's a show where they do so you know the format. It's Iron Chef, but with Lego.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's hosted
You can
by
actually
what's
build
his
Lego
face, who I think might
and
be
sell it to
Canadian.
them.
The Boys.
The Boys? The
Yeah,
show The Boys?
you know the Amazon show The Boys. Yeah,
Yep.
But I have to say,
The guy who plays the mean Superman or whatever he is.
But I have to say, as somebody who has been a parent who has bought Lego sets for his kids,
Yeah,
for like say the past, say 10 to 15 years ago, one thing I noticed is that the Lego sets were way more specialized than they were when we were kids.
Mm-hmm.
Although you could
you
could make a particular thing with our sets that we had, you could pretty much make almost anything you wanted with it. The sets that they were making for kids when my kids were young, you didn't have nearly that kind of flexibility with it. You basically had to make what it was that was in the package, or you make like a slight variation on it. But you don't have
or you take all your Ninjago stuff and you put your Ninjago together to make a Super Ninjago, but you don't mix your Ninjago necessarily with your, I don't know, your with your Minecraft Lego,
Right. The very first Lego set that I ever got for my kids, and this is the way it should be. Oh, we lost Locke. this
Locke's
is the way
like,
it
I don't
should
care what
be,
you're saying. Sorry, you're saying.
is like just a set that has a bunch of pieces and no instructions. And you make whatever the hell you want. That doesn't exist with Lego anymore. That's what you and I grew up on.
Well, yeah. I mean, we had the very big. I mean, the sets were you were building a particular thing, but the parts, with maybe the exception of say Space Lego, was an event. Like you bought the Space Lego set, or you got it as a gift, or whatever, because we were very young, we had no money, and you build a thing, and then the box would actually have like images of or photographs of other things you potentially could build.
And then you
And-
can use your imagination and make whatever
Exactly.
the hell you want.
Yeah.
But today's
you're right.
sets, or even the sets from like 15 years ago, doesn't really have that.
It's an
Yeah, they're
interesting
not
point.
a because they have that particular vision where you can actually build something, but then they decide for whatever reason, like, I don't know, the hull of a ship, or the top of a helicopter, or which on one level is cool because you have these unique pieces that you could then utilize for other stuff. However, it kind of takes the creativity away. Actually, I'm going to show you. I actually saved this somewhere. And it really illustrates the what you and I experienced as being young kids who let me see if I can find them. It was really where did I save it? I think it's in my photo gallery here somewhere. Anyway, not important, but essentially the Lego advertising campaign had very basic sets. So it had like, or very basic premise where you had like a six, single single pip or brick or whatever you call them, and then a couple of other additional ones on top. And you had the poster was an image of that, but the shadow that it cast was whatever you thought it was. So there were these ones where they were sort of a couple of bricks, and it had a sort of a brick hook on the top, and then the shadow cast like a dinosaur. Then it had another one that cast like a spaceship, and you had another one that cast like I think a battleship at sea or something. But the reality was that you had all these very basic bricks, as you were saying, Alan, that we were growing up with, and our imagination took over. Our imagination is what filled the gaps. And what are we potting about? We're potting about the fact that Lego these days specializes their product way too much, and they don't allow kids to have
I don't
an
know if that's
imagination.
quite where I was going.
Well, no, I'm just saying. You were talking about. Okay,
Yeah,
sorry, and
yeah.
also there's context here. We initially started the conversation talking about the fact that there is a line of Lego now called Lego Icons that are geared towards adults, so that it would be classic cars, spaceships, all this, stuff that is sort of a certain age, and they have highly specialized parts, like the Pac-Man one. Like, to me, the Pac-Man one is not something that I would think could be utilized. Let me find it again. So this particular set here, you could not necessarily use. I mean, there's probably going to be some common parts in there, but
You're
there's
not
also
going
going
to
to
be able
be
to
some
do
parts
anything with
that are
that other than
specialized.
that.
Well, I'm just saying, like,
No
in
way.
the side here, like in the side panel, for example, you might find, like, these things are roof pieces.
It's
that
more
kind of
like a
stuff.
3D puzzle. that you get a
Exactly,
box
but
that fits and you
there's probably
assemble
some
it.
common blocks in here. But again, that doesn't mean that there aren't specialized pieces in this particular set
Yeah.
that would be useless. Like, I would suspect,
That you
looking at
couldn't really
these guys
build
down
anything
here,
besides a Pac-Man game.
like these things here,
Yeah.
I think are highly specialized pieces. They must be, because I don't recognize them at all. Not that I'm playing Lego every day, but they're not built with common pieces that I would expect them to be built with. So that's kind of where we're going with, and I'm going to drink some beer now. but ultimately, I think the imagination kind of gets. I mean, I don't know. Can we fault the company that makes Lego to want to cater to less creative?
Having brought up this Lego Masters show, which is clearly like competitive Lego building, there is still an element to which the company is also promoting the idea that this is jazz with engineering materials, basic ones, but ones that you can make stuff with.
Well, remember Capsella?
In terms of before the advent of digital of 3D printing, Lego was the prototyping favorite of many engineers who were tasked with building stuff, because you could generate whatever size it to fit. Like,
well, especially when you have companies that are competing to each other or with each other, where Lego is clearly the king, and then you have the Duplo, and they make those big, humongous blocks, which I can't live for younger.
Is not owned by that. Is that not?
It probably is now, but back in the day, it was kind of that difference between you got, real kids got the Lego, and then other people got, younger kids got the big stuff so they didn't choke and die on it. But at some point, actually, a good example is the Marble League. Have you guys ever watched the Marble League?
No.
You obviously haven't. Okay, well, during the pandemic, I think in the first year, John Oliver, who does Last Week Tonight, did this segment on, hey, what do you do during a pandemic? You turn around and you fund the survival of this little group in the Netherlands, I think, who basically have this Olympics based around marbles. And the marbles are all teams. They have personalities. They have different characters. And it's just kind of exploded from there. Which basically, this company was just a toy store that was specializing in marbles. And I guess they came up with this idea that, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we had marbles compete in Olympic events on YouTube? And they just kind of went from there. And they've built it. It's become a big thing. I can't even explain it in a short way, but I would definitely go check it out. Crazy Cat's Eyes for the win. But basically, what they did, or what they do, is they film these elaborate events, these large stadiums that they build out of, guess what? Lego. And a lot of these things that they build have Lego. They've got the big blocks, the Duplo ones, or whatever they call them. But they've used them to build these things. They also do not just marble Olympics. They also do like pole position. They do like racing stuff where the marbles are racing around a track. But all of the track is, a lot of the time, is suspended, 6, 8, 10 inches off the ground. And they are using Lego. They're using things to build the structures to hold these tracks up. So that's kind of what popped in my mind. But that's actually a practical way of somebody sitting around going, how are we going to turn this into a thing that makes any sense? Or that, we've got these, cars that are running around a track that have teams, have coaches, it has color commentary. Like, they're treating it like a real thing. Like these these marbles are alive and have, coaches talking. They have, stadiums filled with, supportive fans, all this kind of shit. But again, boil it all down, they're doing it in a studio somewhere in Europe, and they've got all of these tracks and things where they're just utilizing all of these things that you and I grew up with, which just kind of it connects me to it a bit more, because you're sitting there going, I'm watching marbles that are supposed to have talked to each other and are fighting, around this track, trying to get the best position or whatever the event is. And I'm still seeing Lego, I'm still seeing, stuff from my childhood in it. It just makes me happy. So that's why I watch it. Every time they have the Olympics, I'm there. I watch it every week. I have an event to watch. It's 10 minutes long. Some marble wins. Great. Awesome. I'll see it next week. It's completely inane. But my point is that so is the Pac-Man game, the Pac-Man Lego thing. It's completely inane, completely useless, does nothing for anybody in a practical sense, in most cases, I would think. But it makes you happy. It like makes you
Yeah, it
build this
improves
thing.
morale.
Exactly. Like there's all of these other things about Lego, growing up with Lego and being able to build stuff with it. I mean, one of my classic things is, as Locke, David Corey, um, he still reminds me of this every time I see him, is that there was one time where he and we had a sleepover. He had built this huge elaborate set, and I had one of his Lego spaceships, and I dropped it. I did that thing where it's like, oh shit, and you drop it. It collided with this huge elaborate base he had made. And then I did it like another few minutes later. Like he said, oh shit. I'm like, so I was trying to help fix it, and I just made it worse. It was like out of a comedy sitcom. I destroyed one thing, and I tried to help fix it, and I destroyed another. So, even to this day, fucking 40 years later, he still reminds me of like, yeah, you still owe me for the Lego base. But it was something that the kids could do together that was creative and fun, and I think actually allowed you to solve issues. How do I build this without it falling over? Like there was some engineering sort of stuff to it. But I don't know. Are you saying, Alan, that basically all the Lego that you gave your kids was for naught?
Well, I don't think it was for naught, but they built it as it was instructed in the in the instructions, I guess, and it stayed that way.
Now, if you go to the Lego store, I know they've got the big bins with the basic blocks, and you can like scoop them by weight or whatever.
Right.
And like, I'd be actually curious to know if anybody does that and then gives it to their kids and says, build whatever you want.
I doubt it.
No?
It would be too expensive to do that.
Well, that's one thing. Yeah. I gather Lego's actually trying to modify their Lego to be more green because it is just plastic, right?
I think actually what Lego is trying to do
is use recycled plastic.
Gear their sets for people, Gen Xers mainly, who played with Lego as a kid. Their market,
it would not surprise me.
Their market is not the kids of today; it's the kids of yesterday.
That
could
might be true.
Could well be. So here's something. So last week there was an article in the Financial Times about a legal firm in the UK who are bearing down on office friendships. Not sexual relationships, platonic friendships. They're concerned that this could be a corrupting influence in the... Sorry, what?
Sorry. What?
But the idea, I think, if I understand it correctly, is that they want employment practices to be entirely 100% rationally fair, and they want investor interests maintained such that they have a clear view of everything, and so all friendships must be disclosed within the organization. So one of the odd things about this conversation is we've been dancing around two topics at the same time. One, the interchangeability of parts, which is what Lego really was. Yep. So there's the interchangeability of parts. So, one part flipped out for another part. If it's the same part, it's the same part. There's no difference, right? The other piece of it is the extent of why do we engage with anything at all if not to establish and reaffirm a happy life, right? And so if you're getting lost in the interchangeability of parts in an employment sense, or in a shareholder value sense, and you're so determined to maintain absolute integrity about everything must be totally interchangeable, then you can't have friendships. But without
Right.
the moral excuse for liking something, why do it in the first place? Is there really any commercial value in a company that is so toxic in its culture that it feels the need to micromanage people's friendships?
That is fucked up. I mean,
Yeah.
if try to think of why that would be. Why would a company want to control or attempt to control that? It makes no sense to me. But it doesn't.
But
make any sense.
imagine you're the friendless person. Why are you friendless? I don't know. I think my cynical mind says that the reason they're friendless is because they're not pulling their weight, or maybe they're just kind of angry and mean and not very nice. But the critic is looking at this and saying, well, no. Maybe they're being discriminated against. Okay, so there's maybe a legitimate concern there. But when you start ruling out the possibility of friendship, are you really helping the cause of fighting discrimination by making people more isolated and
no, it's definitely
right?
an
there's
overcorrection.
Something wrong with what's going on there, and to me, it is one more example of the attempt to pursue something clean and rational in favor of something demonstrable and creaturely. I take the empirical road, the one of David Hume, the one of Thomas Hobbes. I think when stuff is demonstrated in life, it has a kind of authority that, however clean the logic, it's just logic. It's just words, if you see what I mean. Whereas there are other people who look at the world and it's the logic, it's the framework that they cling to, and everything else is just noise, right?
Well, it's funny you say that, because something happened to me this past week, where I did something last week completely for the fact that I just wanted to do something silly. I was thinking about poetry, and I thought, hey, I want to make some poetry that I'll put on Facebook, just because. No reason other than just to say, but I'm going to do it in a bizarre way, because I had a couple thoughts floating in my head, and I thought, I'm going to do this. I want to make poetry, and I want it to be to be weird. So I got this. So I thought, well, what am I going to make? And I thought, I'm going to make something fun that other people will know what I've done. So I'll read this to you very quick. I'll show it on the screen in a moment, but I'm going to read this to you. And I want to see if you catch on to it in the first couple stanzas here. In cosmic realms where stars do brightly gleam, a tale unfolds, an epic, potent dream. Bold Kirk with Spock and Bones, a trinity, on Enterprise their destinies decree. Through turbo doors, a bridge of power grand, Savick, loyal by Kirk's wise command, Uhura's voice in urgency declares, a ship unyielding to their cosmic snares. Now, I want to know if you actually know what I'm talking about at all. It's a particular scene in a particular movie. Do you recognize it yet?
Yes.
I know Alan does. Locke? I know Locke's not on Facebook, so
it's ringing a bell, but
okay.
A lot of
You'll probably get this a little bit in the next one. Reliant, shadowed in the cosmic deep, approaches in a dance where fates do seep. Kirk commands, visual Savick unfold. In starry expanse, destinies are told. Khan, a mastermind in cunning guise, unveils his vengeance neath the starlit skies. The saga weaves a cosmic tapestry, photon torpedoes blaze in majesty. Do you know the scene now?
No, but I'm starting to think that there is a
Okay.
whole line of Shakespeare Star Trek that
Oh
that,
yeah, it
that
does come.
like I could
So-
do 4 seasons at least.
So basically, in Star Trek 2, there's the battle of the. Oh my God, what nebula is it, Alan?
Mutara.
The Nutara Nebula. So it's basically Khan has killed the crew, or most of the crew of the Starship Reliant, and he's now pretending to be this, and then he shoots, and that's when Khan realizes what's going on, and that he's taking his vengeance upon Kirk. So I did this for total fun. So what I did, I didn't tell anyone on Facebook this. This is for anyone who wants the backstory. I Googled, I want the script from Star Trek 2. And I went to that part of the script, and I just grabbed the script as written, threw it into ChatGPT, and said, I want this as an epic poem. And I generated, 10 different versions of it, and this is the one I like the most. But then I thought, geez, there's only going to be a very small amount of people that follow me on Facebook that actually might know what it is. So I went and pulled the scene from YouTube, took screen captures so that you could actually follow along visually without having to know what the fuck I was talking about. Because apparently reading poetry is hard, according to what I was told. So let me grab this here. Boom. So here we are on Facebook. So here's the full poem. It ends with, as tears cascade, a grief becomes the cost. So basically, it's just a play-by-play. The Reliance in our sector. All right, hey, you probably need to, raise your shields, because I'm Savick, and I know what the hell's going on. Kirk's like, it's damn peculiar. What the hell's going on? And then it's like Khan being like, ha, we're a big happy fleet. And then it's like they pass by each other, and they're like, whoa, what's going on? And then suddenly, and then they shoots. And then, the Enterprise takes some hits, and then, alert, and then they're like, oh, he knew exactly where to hit us. And then he fires a photon torpedo. They take a hit. Oh my God, Savick doesn't actually move. I had never noticed this. She doesn't really move. She just kind of keeps going. She's a typical Vulcan. And then of course, then it's like the big reveal. Khan is there. I'm gonna eat your dick. And he's like, oh my God, my dick.
Yeah, and I recall later there was Worf makes some odd reference to Khan, and yes, there was these strange times when Vulcans all looked like David Bowie.
Oh well, yeah.
Labyrinth.
So then he's like, they turn off the ship's shields, and then they're like, oh no, I can't turn it off, and then they shoot him, and then he's like, we must withdraw, and then they leave, and then Savik's like, haha, and then then we find out that what is this?
He stayed at his post when the trainees ran.
That's right. So anyway, I'm not sure how the fuck is we're talking about this, but basically the Lego component of this entire discussion is that my argument is, and maybe Alan, you're sort of in this realm, that the imagination part of building whatever the hell you want goes away, or has gone away to a certain degree, because Lego has catered to, I don't know, lazy building or slackers or something.
Nerds.
And
except for when they're demanding that they fight competitively on television to be as jazz as they can with their
Lego builds.
Yeah.
Which, and because Lego also, I gather from their website, maybe not recently, but ages ago, that they had this this thing where you could build from basic blocks, and if you built something that they thought they could sell, you would actually get a cut of that action or a reward or something. You would get some money because you could submit it online through their website to say, hey, look, I built this thing with these parts, and then Lego would evaluate them. There was some sort of process that you could go through where then they could potentially
look at my patentable dink chickens.
Yeah, exactly. My dink chickens are the best chickens you've ever seen in Lego. Make them, please. I mean, quite honestly, I mean, there's got to be some company ripping off like sex toys with Lego. That would just be gross. I mean, I am still interested in Lego, and yes, I hear. Alan, do you want some? Let me pour it into your glass there.
There we go.
But there's actually, as a Gen Xer, I must be part of that audience that Lego show wants, because I have an interest every so often where I go to AliExpress, and they're selling knockoffs of like the Millennium Falcon for like $50 or something. And I'm like, I would totally. There's no box. There's just a plastic bag full of the parts, and fill your boots to building it, I guess. So we should build beer. Is really what I'm saying. That we should build steins of beer out of Lego.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Add Lego into it as an ingredient in the beer.
So basically, I guess to summarize my entire
No. I used Lego bricks to build a container in which to brew beer.
There you go. Age it in Lego barrels.
Lego aged beer from the Crafty Boys.
Greta approves.
Anyway, Greta does approve. On that note, as Alan pointed out, he's out of beer, so that means the show is winding down, and we're hey, get out of here, Putin. So tonight's beers have been the Vancouver Island Brewing Herminator Icebox, which is a beer that we're quite familiar with. I've had before on the show, and hey, it's back.
And the Bellwoods Brewery
Pig, which is got to be one of the cooler cans I've seen in a while.
Yes, I agree.
But for those watching, we do the show for fun. We don't need sponsors unless you want to sponsor us. We'll take your money. But ultimately, we do it for fun. We hang out with friends and we drink beer and talk about whatever the hell's in our minds. We hope you enjoyed everything. All of our contact information is down below and all the stuff there. And yeah, we'll see you all next week, Friday night, 7 o'clock in the Pacific Standard Time Zone. And hopefully you can come drink beer and talk shit with us, because that's...
Make sure you enjoy, because Putin and Gretton are going to get you.
Yeah.
That's right. And of course, our one and only sponsor is Craftyland, approved by Greta. Thank you, Greta, for approving Craftyland. And I certainly hope that you have a great week, great weekend. And hey, it's getting close to Christmas. Send us free beer. Thank you, everybody. And we will see you next time. Bye!